What is it that makes an esports caster legendary? Is it their innate ability to just perfectly capture exactly what you're feeling?
See a double smokes in the same place there. Simple just jumping casually into the side. He's going to fall down again. What is this shot from Simple? Are you serious? What is that? You can't do that, Simple. That's not allowed. This is not FPL. This is a major.
Or maybe it's their tendency to improvise that raises the hair on the back of your neck.
Anna, can he do it here? He's at half LC. Take it to goal. He gets the goal of his lifetime. A triple kill! It's gonna be the ace! Wilbur is down! CLG! Do you believe, Kobe? I never doubted them! Fourth between the box, what a shot on Simple! Oh, Guardian, bye-bye! And it's on to Flamey, he's tapped it, Flamey's got a big! What in God's name is that from Snacks? Unbelievable!
Or maybe it's their capacity to string together words almost effortlessly into phrases that transcend the very games they're casting.
Happy feet, wombo combo. That ain't Falco. That ain't Falco. Where you at?
But what if they brought something to casting that's often overlooked? What if they brought themselves? Well, in European League of Legends, you'll have a hard time finding anyone who's more comfortable in his own skin than Andrew Vedius Day, a wacky Welsh caster who has successfully carved out his own niche using cringe humor, analysis, and of course, his boundless personality.
It's done, and it is done. All you need is pressure! G2 is just a name on a list. Revenge for fanatic, got time, this is it. Can't wait to watch your reign collapse. What you gonna do, just buy another cat?
Oh la la, I love the French bread.
But Vedius's unique spin on casting wasn't always everyone's cup of tea. In fact, in the beginning, it wasn't really anyone's. So how is it that this larger-than-league showman helped to not only break the casting meta, but redefine it? And, more importantly, how did he manage to do that whilst battling the two-headed beast that is self-doubt and community backlash?
Hello everyone, I'm Shoxius, and taking over the show with me today is Folius and Detective the Vedius. Hello there, dear Shoxius, it is a pleasure to be here on this fine day.
Okay guys, so before we dive into this League of Legends offbeat that I am being forced to present against my will, I must ask you to please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you get to watch any and all of our future offbeats as soon as they go live. Alright, so if there is one thing that can be said for Vedius, it is that he is a man of many faces. Perhaps you know him as Flexius. Maybe you've seen him in a dress as Shoxius, in the kitchen as Chefius, or the dojo as Foldius. Your first encounter could have been with Explainius, or maybe you saw him solving crimes as Vedius the Detective. And even when he's not playing a character, he's always a bit of a character.
Just tune in. Not only do we have the best League of Legends players in the world, we've also got the best content on the market. I'm on a horse.
It's easy to get lost in his sea of alter egos. But what about the Vedius? The real one? Is it even possible to pin down this comedic shapeshifter? Well, Vedius hails from the country of Wales, which isn't exactly the mecca of esports. It's most famous for being home to Tom Jones, stunning scenery, and difficult to pronounce place names. One of those places is Vedius's hometown of Llandelo. Did I do that right? Llandelo.
Today I'm in Llandelo in lovely Carmarthenshire.
Nailed it. Anyway, Vedius was recommended League of Legends by a friend back in Season 1 during his first year of university, where he picked up Brand and grew more and more invested in the game. But as the seasons rolled by, Vedius began to realize that he had less interest in pursuing his psychology degree and began to toy with the idea of going pro in League.
However, we see the flash away from Nocturnal Plex, but movement very low. Prince Philip, the target. Here comes Vedius, and here come Excel. What can they do? Arturus gets taken down by Prince Philip, who will go down, though. Red movement very low. Dan helps pick up the kill on to Nocturnal Plex, and here comes Vedius trying to do as much as he can, but it's 2v3. And Oriana coming in as well. The binding not going to connect, and Excel took the fight.
And although he was good, Vedius realized that his real talent lay not in playing Amateur League, but rather in casting it. He honed his craft at ESL Premiership games and tournaments such as Insomnia, and it's here where his passion, knowledge, and growing confidence began to come together.
He is so familiar with it, he knows how to play it, his positioning is on point. Just take it, ban it, I don't care, just stop giving it to him.
And in 2016, when Riot announced that the EULCS was moving from a best-of-1 to a best-of-2 format, which would require more casters, Vedius saw an opportunity to throw his name into the mix. And after applying for a position, Vedius's family enlisted the help of a neighbor to make sure that he didn't sleep through his interview.
She then lets herself in because she has a key from my nan, and she is shouting, right? She is literally shouting with the thickest Welsh accent you've ever heard, right? She is going, "Oh, Andrew, love, I've heard that you've got an interview today, and I've come to make sure that you're awake." And then I'm like furiously apologizing to Quickshot, right? And I'm like, I'm really sorry.
As Vedius waited what felt like an eternity to hear back, he received 2 other permanent casting offers. One to cast Korean League for Spo TV, and another to cast Vainglory. Remember Vainglory?
Never heard of it.
But as appealing as those offers were to Vedius, his heart was entirely set on Europe. Although at the time, it wasn't entirely clear that Europe was set on him.
It was surprisingly quite mixed. A few people didn't want me, and I don't blame them. My knowledge back then was not very good. It was very much that of a Diamond 1 solo queue player, so I didn't really have great pro player insights, but props to Quickshot. Quickshot said that I think that this guy has like really insane potential, and I think that he can be like a really valuable asset. So Quickshot vouched for me, they believed in Quickshot's vouch, and so they ended up hiring me for some split.
And in June of 2016, he officially made his first LCS broadcast appearance.
Of course, a new member of the LCS crew here, Vedius. You've done Challenger, but what does it feel like to be on the LCS Summer Split start?
It's a little bit nerve-wracking, but I'm really excited to see what these LCS teams bring out on this pretty amazing patch.
Vedius joined an established cast of seasoned broadcast veterans and former pro players like Deficio and Crepo, who had seamlessly transitioned their experience as high-level competitors into their role as color casters. They were able to translate the 200 IQ pro plays into a language that even the most Yasuo-maining, turret-diving, no mini-map looking bronze player could understand. And that was something that Vedius felt he just wasn't ready to do.
Because I still felt like that I wasn't a great caster, especially in knowledge. And the thing is, I really did feel a lot of pressure when it came to like leveling up my knowledge, because the problem is I didn't know how to get smarter, and the guys didn't really know how to teach me how to get smarter because they just lived it, you know? They were pro players, their experience was just being a pro player. It wasn't like natural to me. Whereas to those two, it was just like, it was obvious almost.
But as Vedius struggled to meet his own standards for casting, he soon discovered that his greatest challenge would lie in winning over the league community with his particular approach.
Focus here.
Give it to Talon, make him purpler. To be more purple is to be a greater individual.
Obviously, a lot of people really didn't like it. A lot of people thought that it was very cringe. A lot of people thought that it was super distracting. A lot of people thought that it was just very annoying and it like took away from the game. But every time you would see people talking about the casters, they would go Crepo, Deficio, Vedius. And that was the goal, right? It didn't matter because the point is that they knew who Vedius was. And they might have hated Vedius, we can fix that later.
Racked with self-doubt and casting to a sometimes hostile audience, someone else may have buckled under the pressure. But you wouldn't be watching this video if Vedius had caved in. While he tried to play catch-up on the analysis side of things, Vedius began to explore a skill that came more naturally to him than most others: his talent for showmanship. Picks to Watch was Vedius's first segment he had all to himself. The idea was simple. He'd break down the champions that viewers should expect to see each week. It was a solid idea, but his producer Margot Lelaurier felt it needed just a little more spice.
The intro was her idea. So she said, I think this content is kind of boring, and also people don't know who you are. So we need something to capture them so that they will click on the link, and then hopefully they'll stay for the video. So we kind of want clickbait, right? And I was like, okay, cool. And so she's like, so I think we should do something just a little bit funny. And if you look at the first one, the very first one, it's kind of relatively tame. So this is kind of where the Vedi then comes in. So like in the first one, I'm like, oh, okay, so I understand the playground that I'm working with now. And then like the natural Vedi part just kind of came out, and I was like, let's be weird and wonderful.
The intros were bizarre, quirky, and sometimes barely made sense. But crucially, they were Vedius to a T. But as authentic to the man as they might have been, the reactions to them were mixed. And at a certain point, even Margot thought that they might be getting a bit too weird.
She was like, maybe we should, because now they're like a little too far. And I was like, no, I think that's why people watch the videos, Margot. I'm going to keep doing them.
But he wouldn't have to fight the battle alone for long, because it was when Vedius found himself being paired with the equally charismatic Medic that content and casting sparks truly began to fly.
It's Maddie time! Vedius, I didn't ask you this yesterday, but will you be my Valentine? Of course, my friend. How could I not? Kiss me, Vedi. No. It's Maddie. Hey, Maddie. Woo!
Slowly but surely, Vedius's unique brand was beginning to win over the community. But the amazing part is that it wasn't just fans who'd been won over by his shenanigans. When the EU LCS decided to rebrand as the LEC in 2019, it wasn't just a name change. The production team looked to Vedius as inspiration for their new head-turning approach to broadcasting League that didn't take itself too seriously.
If you had worked at Riot for a while, it was really hard to break out of the mindset of like, this is esports professionalism. It's really hard to break out of that. But he, bless his heart, is just so unashamedly himself. And so he started pitching weird stuff. And so Vedius isn't like the sole mastermind behind this, but by being the kind of person that no matter what else has like come before, no matter what the context, he's always willing to like put himself out there and pitch this wild stuff. It really like kicked off everyone's creativity.
Instead of the standard wooden pre- and post-game segments notorious across all of esports, the LEC hard pivoted in the complete opposite direction. And while some of their offering was still somewhat cringe, at least it was designed to be that way.
But we gonna take him out, have a doubt, Febby showing up, killed him in lane, such a shame, Goldie going up, I don't wanna hear about perks, he don't matter to me, send him up against Hans, give him that easy Yo3.
And while some of the early rap battles may have started out intentionally mediocre, pretty soon, memes aside, they actually kinda slapped.
Bad drafts, it's bad reads, it's Mickey's wrist, it's just greed. When are you gonna admit? Your boys are just playing like shit.
With Europe reaching the World's Finals 2 years in a row, EU pride was at an all-time high. Vedius and co continued to give European fans the soundtrack to reflect this wave of EU-phoria.
The whole world trying just to look like us. Take a look at your league, wish you played like us. Montana shook reality, you're facing a tragedy when the European legacy comes knocking down your pride. To be those feelings of anxiety, the future you don't want to see, the wrath of our whole dynasty, it spells LEC.
In fact, even people who didn't play or watch League knew an absolute banger when they saw one.
We're the OG, put your hands together if you all remember me. We're here for the best years, 2015 and the whole world cheers.
And once you're a rap god, where do you go next? Well, if you said emo rock, well done. EU used to be a region that struggled to find its identity, to separate itself from its equally dull North American sibling. But with this winning combination of music and memes, the LEC has been able to carve out a unique personality that's become the envy of League of Legends production around the world. Now, of course, goofing around and doing skits is all well and good, but it doesn't matter if your casting isn't up to scratch. But since joining in 2016, Vedius had grown so much as a caster that his efforts were rewarded when he was chosen to cast the grand finals at Worlds.
A fantastic performance throughout this series, and now they are just being dismantled by Damwon. Another double kill goes into the back pockets of Ghost. They have the Baron buff, they're looking to break into the bait.
Vedius had reached the pinnacle, and more importantly, he did it his way. He helped to turn the European production that told him to tone it down into an extension of his unique and irreplaceable brand of comedy. And in the process, not only had he liberated himself from the shackles of convention, but his colleagues as well.
There were a couple of weeks where I just was so excited, and I hadn't had that feeling necessarily for a few years because I always loved doing the show. But this getting up and being like, I want to go to the studio and make the best show possible, and it's going to be freaking amazing. We're making a show that people are excited to watch as much as we are excited to make it.
Look, there's clearly a wealth of talented people behind the songs, behind the skits, behind everything that fans have come to adore about the LEC over the years. Even more of them work behind the camera to bring the LEC to life. But if you had to trace it back, if you had to search in the LEC's DNA to find why it feels like you're watching League with a goofy yet knowledgeable friend that doesn't take themselves too seriously, you'd probably stumble upon a crazy Welshman who smashed through a wall of cringe and came face to face with himself on the other side.
I've always wanted to be like an S-tier caster. I've always wanted to be considered like a Papa Smithy or a Deficio or a caster that kind of like will live without the ages. And if I was to leave, I would like to think that a lot of people would sit there and say like, I miss Vedi as a caster. But I think that just because of who I am and where like, because I'm not a pro player, I don't think I'll ever achieve that, which kind of sucks. But at the same time, I know that I do have a lot of fans out there that like enjoy what I do. And I think as a result of that, I've also just made the LEC better, you know?
Clandelo. 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 Clandelo.
Not hearing that.
Which Tom Jones are we talking about? Are we talking about the literary character, or are we talking about like the singer Tom Jones? I was gonna say, I don't think that Tom Jones, the literary character, hails from Wales. No, he's from Somerset. Somerset. Yeah, Fielding was born in Somerset.